Welcome back to Boy Band Break, where we encourage you to take a break from your day and join us in some boy band conversation. As always, my name's Diane.
I'm Chinzia.
I'm Sophia.
And Mama Lou is not here today, but she sent us notes, so we are golden. She's here in spirit.
Got all of her stuff right here. So she sent us notes because we are going to do a review of the 2001 classic
rom-com
Oscar-nominated, clearly movie, or snubbed, I tell you, snubbed movie On the Line, starring Lance Bass,
Joey Fatone, and Emmanuel Shrike.
Yes,
and a bunch of other people as well.
And there's a few fun cameos in there that we're going to talk about.
There are cameos, yes. So, as you can see, it says a killer soundtrack with new songs from NSYNC and Britney Spears. And then it says he's risking it all for love at first sight.
Ooh.
So the background, here's the back of it. Yes, very nice. The synopsis says, starring pop sensations Lance Bass and Joey Fatone, and with the music of NSYNC, Britney Spears, Mandy Moore, and Vitamin C.
Ooh.
Here's a hilarious romantic comedy! ! Kevin Bass has everything going for him, but when he discovers... Why are they revealing her name? Okay, sorry. When he discovers Abby, the girl of his dreams, next to him on a train, he fails to get her name and number. Thinking he has missed his golden opportunity, Kevin launches a massive campaign to find Abby.
I feel like it's like telling the whole movie.
Yes. And soon becomes the target of every young woman's affections. But the fates seem determined to reunite Abby and Kevin, proving that love will never get away if you put your heart on the line.
Ooh, look at that.
That's
See,
right.
Full circle right there.
Full circle there. So there you go.
And I like how one of the things on there is fun-filled from the critics in the back.
Oh,
fun-filled.
NBC TV has called it fun-filled, and that is all.
That is all.
That I've said. So, little background in this. So this is based in Chicago, but a lot of it was actually filmed in Toronto.
Yes.
Because I remember this happening, and we were like trying to debate if we could try to figure out where Lance and Joey were. Because at one point, the filming was stopped for the day because there was like a fire in the area. So we're just like, okay, where's there a fire in Toronto? And then we decided it was too much effort, so we decided not to go. But there you go. It was very, very heavily promoted ahead of time, and they had this like website that you could like do little tasks and stuff and get these little interactive like icons, I guess, and you were supposed to get all the little movie icons. If you got them, it like unlocked things, and you got to see like some behind the scenes stuff. And so so I was very invested in this movie coming out.
I've only seen this movie one time during then, 2001, so I totally forgot all about this.
There's another review at the top here that says, oh, you read that already, but that's a review.
Oh, okay.
From Billboard Magazine.
Wonderful. So 2 reviews on this DVD.
All right, guys. So so this was an earlier time period where Lance Bass had not come out as gay yet. But then watching this movie, Diane made some comments in which, like, how do we not know Lance was gay? So there you go.
Fair.
So I think it's cute. It's a nice little rom-com, and it's better than a lot of the other boy band movies that we've watched.
Yes.
So,
I would say this one is on the top of the ones that we've seen before. Like
it's fairly up there.
What was the other one?
It's No Vampire Bird's
that one.
Serenade. So there you go.
Yes, that one, and then there was Olive Juice. So compared to those two, this one is the top.
Okay, now things are coming through. Sorry, as you can see, we're not in Lydia's studio. We're at my studio. My studio being my office, and yes, so things are making noise and stuff. So I apologize because I don't know what the hell is going on. Okay, cool. So are we ready to jump into this?
Let's go.
Okay, so Diane has Lydia's notes. So Lydia watched this independently from us. We all watched it together, and I haven't seen it in many years, but I remembered quite a large portion of it. So there you go. All right, so just wanting to not answer the phone. Okay. So yeah, okay.
It's going well.
Okay, so I really should have called in ahead of time. Okay, so it's executive produced by Johnny Wright, as we all know, as a boy band aficionado manager person, and it takes place in Chicago. So it starts off in 1994, and Joey and Lance are in a band. And they.
Can I just say one thing?
Yes.
So first, in the beginning of the movie, it said he was in a band, and then they did a time jump. Are you reading that?
I am reading.
Okay,
that,
sorry.
Yes. Yes. So they are in this garage. So it's like gone back in time. It's 1994. They're singing Two Princes. Lance is the singer. Joey's on guitar. They have two other friends on drums and bass, I guess. And yeah, so they're there. It's all like whatever, exciting. And then the girl that Lance likes is in the crowd. So Joey's like, you got to impress this girl by singing a song to her. And then
Lydia's
yes,
thing is the fictional romantic comedy of Lance trying to be straight. LOL.
Yes.
Yes. So I'm sorry, I just saw some. Okay, so anyway, so then Lance gets very nervous because he's very nervous around women. He suddenly feels like he's naked. So now you have like a naked Lance on stage. He's sweating.
Well, you don't see anything. It's like literally shoulders up. Like you don't even see his nipples.
I think you do.
I don't think you do.
Anyways, so then Joey, I think, is the one who says, "Don't be a tulip." Is his insult to him.
So
and yes, and then he passes out. But then you want to say your thing?
I don't know. I'm just trying to make sure Lydia's voice is heard here.
Yes.
She says, starts with Lance intentionally singing shitty at a party.
Wasn't that
and then,
bad?
Girl of my dreams, my ass.
Okay.
And yes, Kevin, don't be a tulip.
So then, while he's looking at his dream girl in the crowd, this girl's boyfriend puts her arm around her. And then he passes out. And
does that happen for real though? Like, or is that part of his like?
But this is an entirely different girl than in the other thing. So yes.
What?
Look, I'll tell you this. Whatever. Yes. So yeah. So then he like freaks out and then he passes out.
So was then a hallucination? I think that's what Diane's.
No, I think that guy was actually in the crowd. Like,
okay.
I don't think it was. I think that's why he passes out. Because
he starts panicking before you see the guy.
But then when the guy goes around the arm thing, then he like falls.
Okay.
Is what I recall.
I don't know.
Yeah, so then it's now present time and they are all making fun of Lance and being like, that was hilarious. Remember when you passed out 7 years ago?
And that was on the subway that they said that.
Yes. So then it's now, so they're on the subway and it is Joey and Lance and they're retelling the story. And for some reason, a young boy is sitting in between them eating McDonald's fries for product placement.
Yes, that was the first product placement.
Yes, there's lots of product placement in this movie. And then, so Joey's like trying to explain what's wrong with Lance, and the kid's like, you choked or whatever. You mess up when you like girls. And he's like, look how cool I am. And then he goes and offers like a fry to this like hot chick who accepts the fries. And I'm like, but when I say a young child, I want to say he's approximately like 5 years old.
Yeah.
He's very young, and I don't know why he's on this subway. I don't know if they're babysitting this kid. This kid is never mentioned again. It's just there. Does Lydia have anything about that section?
7-year time skip with Joey and a tiny kid / ad for McDonald's.
Okay, excellent. Okay, so
Joey, who in the movie's name is Rod.
Rod,
yes.
And Lance's name is Kevin.
Yes.
Not to be confused with Kevin Richardson of the Backstreet Boys. So there you go. Anyways, so Lance, excuse me, should I call him Lance? Should I just call him Lance or Kevin?
I think people will get it either way.
I'll just call him Lance. So Lance works at a marketing company. So, and it's, I wrote colorful. Oh, and because it is the early 2000s, their computers are colorful iMacs. Do you guys remember that? We just like plugged her in and then it was just like, that's it. It's just all these different rainbow colors of things. So so he's getting to work and he's trying to say hi to people and everybody's ignoring him. Nobody gives two shits about him. And like whatever.
It's very sad.
It's very sad. The only person who is a fan of him is, I believe his name is Nathan in the movie, but he is on Seinfeld. He plays George's father,
Jerry Stiller.
And so this man is in the photocopying room. He's the mail guy. He has a baseball that he is always holding. And then he ends up talking about, like, he's like, the photocopier's not working. So he helps him out. And he's like, Lance, Kevin, you just got to talk sweetly to the thing. And then he's like, does that work? And he's like, if it doesn't, you just kick it in a love tap and it works, right? So you're like, oh, hilarious. And also he's wearing, he's very green with a green shirt, a green tie, and a green leather jacket.
Trying to match
I don't
colors.
really know.
It's quite an outfit, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
All right. Does Lydia have anything there? And then I have the Kids in the Hall guy.
It's literally all the same stuff. Lance works for an ad agency with old Mac monitors. George Costanza's dad works with him making love to his copy machine.
Yes.
Okay, do you want to read Lydia's things and I interject with my stuff, or what do you?
Either way, it's fine.
No, whatever. So yeah, so the boss. Does he still talk about the boss?
Wheatgrass is his supervisor's office.
Wheatgrass is in his supervisor's office.
Yeah.
So it's the guy from Kids in the Hall, I believe.
I believe so.
I believe his name is Dave. I was going to look this up.
Possibly,
I
yes.
forgot to look it up, but he's like, you know, an actor. And he plays like kind of a nutso boss. Like he has the wheatgrass. He's always like, well, we got to make the money. We got to do all this
I feel
stuff.
like wheatgrass was a big thing at that time period.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he like literally
Very
was growing
trendy.
it in the office and like putting it in a blender.
It was like
and,
the new, like it was like today's like kale or avocado or like whatever.
Yes,
It was like a
yes.
big thing back then.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so anyway, so he's there. So he's like, oh, and Lance's full name is Kevin Gibbons. So his boss is the only one who calls him Gibbons. He's like, Gibbons, blah, 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 Gibbons. And he's like, okay.
Well, at least we know the name.
Yeah, so there you go.
Yes.
We've established a full name. So he is giving him the new Reebok account for tween girls. Tween, why did I write football? I don't know why I wrote football. It's not football. Anyways, it's a tween girls account. And then he's like, Lance is like, what are tweens? Like he doesn't have millions of fans that are tweens. And they're like, they're teenage girls that aren't teenagers yet. So whatever. And then he's like, okay, whatever. So that's it. And then Jackie is the boss
Not the
lady.
nicest person, not at all.
She's not very nice, but she is the leader of the team. She makes a very big fact that she has a 5-year seniority on Lance. And for some reason I wrote koosh balls. I don't know why.
He's playing with them as he's coming up with ideas.
Yeah, so they're like bouncing off ideas and he comes up for this. He's like, so she's like, that's a stupid idea. And then he's like, for girls, so he's like, girls doing this, girls at a concert, girls, whatever. And it should be Reebok for girls on the move. And she's like, that's a stupid idea. You're dumb. And they're like, okay, whatever. So anything else there?
Black Lady is teamed up with Lance. She is pissed. Reebok. So Lance's original idea
Yes, I forgot that.
is, I assume, a spiff on the Budweiser frog commercial where he's like, there's 2 chickens and one saying re and one saying bok, and then she's like, that's stupid, and then he comes up with
And
this
then he
other
comes up with the other idea, yes. So then Lance is on the subway. Well, I'm sorry, I don't know how to stop this sound. Apologies to anyone.
Here, hang on. You
Okay.
keep going.
Okay, so Lance is on the subway and listening to his CD player and starts like singing very loudly to Al Green music, who I had never heard of prior to this because he's an older gentleman that I just never listened to music. So anyway, so he's singing and then Lance realizes that he's singing. And then he's like, oh, so he's embarrassed, so he stops. And everyone on the subway is either laughing at him or just looking at him like he's a weirdo. Mm-hmm. So then Emmanuel Shrike comes in, and she's like...
We're using her real name because at that time we didn't know the name of that character.
That's correct. Yes. So she comes through, and then she, like, says something, and then he's like, what? And then she's like, says the lyric again, and she's like, that's an Al Green song, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, oh, okay. And then she's like, so then she sits down beside him and starts talking. And she tells, as one does with random strangers singing on a bus. And she says that she's going to grad school for archaeology. Do you have anything at that point?
Lance rocking out with CD player on the subway. Red jacket hot lady, they talk. Some baseball mumbo jumbo. Paper airplane, my dad's a pilot. President's names, eye roll.
Okay. All right. So I'll catch up. So they start talking about the Cubs because they're in Chicago. So the Cubbies are like, they're both huge Cubs fans. And they both had the same sad moment, was game 5, blah, 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 something happened. And then, so they're like, oh, so so then she makes the paper airplane. And they get off, they get off of the subway at the same stop. I don't know if this is on purpose or not. And then they're just like chit-chatting as they're walking up.
I think, I'm not sure if it's Lance's stop. That is unclear. But she gets off because that's where she has to go on a different train.
Yes. So she's there.
I think she intentionally is getting off there. Whether Lance, a.k.a. Kevin, was meant to get off there, we don't know.
Yes. So I don't know if, so they get off, they're chatting, whatever. And because this is not Toronto where the subway is underground, I guess this is more like a LRT, right? Like a transit above.
It's not a subway, no.
No, because it's Chicago. Yeah. So it's like above ground train. So they like go and they like climb up this little like, to get over to the other train, right? Stairs. So they get over there. Yes, stairs is the words. Yes, thank you, Sophia. So
I think it's a bridge.
Yes. So she makes this paper airplane and then like tosses it, and then it like lands in this dude's afro. So that they're like, oh, and the guy doesn't notice. And then they continue to chat, and then so they said to name something that they that's weird that people would like, something unique about you. So Lance says that he can name all of the presidents in order. So after he says this, she immediately starts saying the president's names. And then like midway through, Lance gets in, and then they're like both like saying the names and get all excited. And then it's like Bush, blah, 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 Bush. So Bush was the president at the time. So anyways, I felt that since this is a Canadian podcast, that we should have some Canadian representation. And we should do that same thing, but with prime ministers. Then I realized, I know jack shit about history, so I don't actually know who our prime ministers are. So I was actually going to get my friend Paul, who is actually the guy who came up with the idea for us to start this podcast. So Paul Ferry, who's living in Calgary, I was going to get him to call in, and then we were going to like do that. But then I didn't realize technology-wise how this was going to work, and I think he's actually going somewhere today. But then, guys, I remembered that back in the day, my mom got this placemat that has all the prime ministers of Canada on it, up until Jean Chrétien, because I guess this was printed in 1993, so we're a little bit behind the times. So I was like, oh, this is cool. We'll just say the names and everything's good. So as you can see, like obviously our first guy was John A. Macdonald, up to Chrétien. There's a bunch of people I haven't heard of, other ones I have, like William Lyon Mackenzie King, I feel like was the crazy one. Didn't he have a dog, or his mother not married? I don't know. It's a bunch of shit. So this is actually fascinating placemat that although we've had for over 20 years, almost 20 years, I have not actually looked at it.
Over 20 years.
Yeah, I don't know math. Yes, 93.
Yep.
Yes, yep.
I've had it for almost 30
Almost 30 years. I have never actually looked at this placemat. So, so good times. But, so I was like, oh, this is easy. Like, I should know who was after Chrétien, but let me just go on Wikipedia and find it out. So I was like, okay, so Paul, Martin, Harper, Trudeau. And then I realized when I was looking on Wikipedia is that some of these guys served more than once. So they did it. Then another guy upseated him. Then he came back. Then the other guy. So I was just like, okay. So in the true nature of things, I put them all here, and we're just going to read them out in order. Together, perhaps, if we can. I've circled the last
because
names.
You don't come to the Boy Band Break podcast for boy bands. You come for history.
Tuvia, who, cared enough to do all this, think that me and Sophia are just going to actually know this off by heart.
No, we're going to read it together. Like how they both said the names together.
Yeah, because they both memorized it.
Yeah, but I don't even know who half of these people are.
That's what I'm saying. So how are we all going to say it together?
Because I'm going to hold the piece of paper here, and I'm going to point to the names, and we're going to say the names as they go by.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Are we doing this
also-
at 3?
No.
You guys are riveted right now, I'm sure.
Riveting.
Well,
There are so many of our listeners who are like, oh, thank God. I really tuned into this podcast.
You know what? Maybe
See?
these listeners are going to say the names with us because
Oh, yeah.
they know Canadian prime ministers.
all right.
Maybe they do. And you know
I'm
what? An
sure.
election is coming up on September 20th, if this is not aired yet, or is about to come up. So there would be another name on this list, possibly. Or it could be Trudeau. Who knows? Who knows, guys? Anyways, if you want to check out my friend Paul, he has hilarious political things, a lot of Alberta politics, Canadian politics, things like that. He is a doctor of political science, and his Twitter name is Paulisci, so Paulisci. Very funny. And last year during the pandemic, he brought back an expired drink from 100 years ago.
Not expired.
It was a long forgotten drink
Yes.
called Kronk, C-R-O-N-K.
More like extinct.
Extinct, sure,
is a
we'll
good
go with
word,
that.
Yes.
Because
Discontinued.
another fun thing that Paul likes to do is to look at old newspapers and find things. And he kept seeing these random ads for a thing called Kronk that came out in the late 1800s, and he wasn't sure what it was. And it was like, drink Kronk. Kronk is the drink, blah, blah, blah. So then finally he put it onto Twitter. Somebody was like, oh, here's an old Kronk recipe. And then they actually made Kronk, like an actual brewery in Calgary did. And yeah, so that was last summer's
we
fun
tried it
stuff.
on a
Tried
live
it.
once on our Facebook page.
It was
and
not good.
Disgusting.
Yeah.
It was terrible.
Not
But
good at
actually, I
all.
still have a bottle in my fridge, which is over a year old. So I'm feeling like it's probably even
That
more
one
gross.
is probably expired.
Yes.
Yes. So anyway, so Kronk, so Paul Ferry, Paulisci, check that out. But he's not here today. So, all right, guys, we're going to try to do this.
Okay.
I decided we would only say the last names because in the movie they only said the president last names.
Mhm.
So we're good here. Okay. Ready?
On 3 or just
Sure.
go?
3, 2, 1. McDonald, Mackenzie, McDonald, Abbott, Thompson, Bowell, Tupper, Laurier. Borden, Meehan?
Okay.
Megan?
I thought it was me.
I have no idea.
Arthur? I don't know.
Sure.
Sure. Mackenzie King, Meehan, Mackenzie King, Bennett, Mackenzie King,
Wow.
Saint Laurent, Diefenbaker, Pearson, Trudeau, Clark, Trudeau, Turner, Mulrooney, Campbell, Chrétien, Martin, Harper, Trudeau is where we are at now.
Yes.
So the two different Trudeaus are Justin Trudeau is our current prime minister, and his dad, Pierre Elliott Trudeau, apparently did it a few times. So yes, I was unaware of
Hence
that.
the big gap between them. It wasn't
Yes.
the same guy.
Yes, yes. So, and I just want to shout out that we had our first female prime minister. She only served from June to November of 1993, and that was Kim Campbell. And that was
And
something
it was
because
only
of Brian.
because I was going to say he had to step down for some reason.
Brian Mulroney had to step down, and then she was the deputy prime minister, so she became the prime minister.
Mhm.
So, but anyways, we're like, yes,
We don't have like vice. Like deputy is
Yes. So there you go. So if you ever want to look that up, you can just go to our friend's Wikipedia and look up list of prime ministers of Canada.
Why would you need to look it up? We just told
We just
you.
did it again, guys.
exactly.
We could do it again, but I feel like Diane's going to hit me. So we're going to move on.
Listen, if you enjoyed that, leave Chunzia a comment so she can be validated
Validation.
Yes.
Just trying to bring our Canadian culture to the world.
to the world.
To the world.
All right.
All right. Anyway, so then they just kind of end there. I guess I could have looked up who came after Bush in the States. You guys all know who those are. That's fine. We don't care. Moving on. So
not important.
So now they're like at the thing. There's like a good moment. She's like, "Oh, I gotta go catch my thing, my connecting train," and it looks like they're gonna kiss or talk or anything. And then Lance goes, "It was a pleasure commuting with you," and that's what he said.
And didn't ask for a name or anything.
Gatsingend.
Lydia wrote, no phone number exchange, puss.
All right. So now Joey is singing. Oh, yes. So now they're back.
This is a good funny
So
part.
this is like one of my favorite parts of this movie. So now they're like back at a bar. Joey is singing. The band is now a whole new band. And but the three friends are sitting there watching Joey perform, and Joey is singing "Pour Some Sugar on Me."
Oh my gosh.
And to be more authentic as a singer, Joey now has a giant container of sugar and it starts pouring it on himself as he's singing. And so they're like talking, and Lance, Kevin is saying like what happened with this chick, and then Joey's just like pasta, and then he starts pouring sugar into his mouth, then he starts choking, and then
he's making like some weird ass
he's making some weird ass faces, and the band just keeps playing and they don't care, and then Joey's annoyed.
It was very funny.
So then Joey comes back to their table and he was like, that sucked. It was terrible. And he's like, do you want to know what we were? We were the best high school band ever. Was what him and Eric, I think, said.
Yes.
So there you go. And then I don't know, does Lydia have anything there?
Joey Hard Rock Guy, LOL. Pour some sugar on me. Literally. Laughing face. Guy friend saying he sucks. Joey kicks amp, gets together with Du Bois. Joey writes song about how shitty his friend is. LOL.
Oh, yeah. Yes. So then, like, yeah. So I guess at this point they're 24 years old, I think. So then so they're like talking, and then about this thing. Then Joey gets back on stage and he starts singing a song about Kevin choking to the tune of "Every Rose Has Its Thorns," and he's just like pretty much how much Kevin sucks for not asking the girl for her number. So then we flash over to the girl.
Yes. And then we find out what information.
She's not from Chicago, guys. She was just in town, but she was there visiting.
She's from Chicago, but she's not currently living there.
She's not in Chicago, but she has a boy, and she has a boyfriend of 3 years.
3 years. Wow.
What?
Didn't mention that.
Did not mention that. And her boyfriend's name is Paul. This random friend is named Sam, who's asking her about her weekend, and she's like, "Oh, I met a guy."
Well, she's in school, right? So it's mentioned when they're on the train that she's in college. So I think the point is she's away at college, like going to school. So I think Lance knows she doesn't actually like currently live in Chicago, but like she's from there and like whatever, and so she's living with a roommate or whatever because she's, I don't know.
Yes, and this roommate's like, "You met a boy?" And she's like very overacting. And then, the girl goes, "I connected more in 5 minutes with this stranger than I've connected with my boyfriend in the past year." And they're just like, "Oh." And then it like...
Because Paul is all about business and his meetings.
And his meetings. Does she have anything about this?
Clips back to girl. She had a boyfriend, question mark?
Yes. All right, so now we're back to regular time. We're back to the Lance's marketing office, and they're there. Reebok is there. The Kids in the Hall guy presents a really stupid idea about like the future or spaceships or something like that.
Future on the move.
And then the Reebok people are like, "No, that sucks balls." So then Jackie was like, "Oh, I have another idea." And then she like opens the doors and brings it in. And she's like, "Girls on this, girls this, girls going to concerts for girls on the move." And then Kevin's like, "What the fuck? This bitch stole my idea." But as a good team player, he didn't call her out in front of the client. But the client fucking loved the idea. And they're like, "This is amazing." So, yeah. So then I have him. He's photocopy. Oh, so then they're like, "Yes, we need mock-ups by the end of the day." And then boss is like, "Yes, Kevin will photocopy it and send it to you." Blah blah blah. So he's in the photocopying room, in the dark, with the photo. I guess maybe it's because the photocopier is open and he doesn't want to keep opening and closing it. But he's just like, "She stole my idea. Why didn't I say anything?" Blah blah blah. And then gets this genius idea that he should write posters and photocopy those instead.
Posters to try and find the girl from the train.
The girl.
Yes.
So he just gets a friggin' Sharpie and just writes it and is like, "Hey, are you a girl? Blah, blah, blah.
Are you her?
Are you her? We talked about presidents, blah, 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 blah." And then puts his phone number on it because this is early 2000s. There's not really a lot of websites or email addresses or anything else, but let's just put our phone number.
No Craigslist or whatever.
Yes, no misconnections. So he puts this up and then he just starts putting it around town.
Oh,
sometimes with paper.
As he was photocopying, On the Line song plays. Did you mention that?
Yes. Okay. No, I did not say that. That is the best song of this movie, and I
Yes.
love it. But
a good
anyway, so
song.
they're like, so he's like, so now there's a montage as this On the Line
Yes.
song is playing, where he's like putting up posters. So sometimes he puts like some sort of paste, sometimes whatever, and then this last one he puts up this fucking poster, and Diane's like, how is this poster even sticking? That's not going to stay. What the fuck is this
Because
bullshit?
I'm telling you guys, he's not using a couple of times you see him use like a staple gun.
On like a historic door and
Yeah,
stuff. Like,
but like all the other times, he just has a paintbrush which clearly has like water on it, and he's just like, and somehow this thing sticks. And I'm like, how is this sticking? She's like, it's glue. I'm like, so this guy's walking around with a paintbrush and liquid glue, and is like,
it's like a
gluing
blue water. Have you not seen anyone in Toronto do this?
No.
Okay, this is a thing they do.
And then, but then, yes, the last one, he has no brush or anything. He just takes a piece of paper
Just
and
smacks
sticks it.
on. I don't know if he has a piece of tape. I don't know. But then you see this hand come and just take it off. And Diane's like, see, doesn't stick. Blah, blah, blah. Is there
True.
any Lydia stuff there?
It's all the same stuff you guys said. Shitty Reebok ad. Black lady stole Lance's idea. Lance is being a puss. On the Line song plays. Photocopy montage.
Okay. So I also forgot to mention that at some point in time, they mentioned that this kid they went to school with named Brady works at the newspaper. Just to throw away, and they're like, oh, Brady hates you, Lance. Ha ha ha.
Because I
So
think
in
maybe Brady
Yes, they will.
is Brady the arm around the girl guy?
No, I
No.
thought that, but it's not because then they show a different clip later.
Oh, okay.
Because that's why I was confused,
Mm-hmm.
because it's an entirely different girl and guy, so it has nothing to do with that. So, anyways,
Okay.
so Brady is now at the newspaper office, and he's like hating his life or whatever. And his boss calls him in. He's like, "Listen, I got an assignment for you. There's all these posters along town, blah blah blah." And then a signed story. And then he's like, "What the hell?" He's like, "Yeah, we checked it out. This guy's name is Kevin Gibbons." He's like, "Kevin Gibbons? I can't. I have a history with this guy. I don't want to do it. I hate him." And his boss is like, "Well, too bad. Suck it up, bitch." I also thought that Brady. I made this comment and no one agreed with me, so I could be totally off base here. But I thought that he looked kind of like a poor man's Rob Lowe with giant hair. He just
No.
okay.
I think you
So
forgot what Rob Lowe
apparently,
looked like.
I'm the only one who thought this. But if leave a comment if you think that he looked like Rob Lowe.
If you watch the movie.
Oh, so then they're like, oh, so his boss is like, what happened? Why do you have this animosity? And he's like, okay, I was asking out, I can't remember her name, some blonde chick, let's just call her Kelly for this purpose. He's like, I'm in high, so it like flashes back to them in high school, and he goes, hey Kelly, do you want to go to prom with me? And she looks at him, and then she like turns around, and Kevin is there, and she's like, hey Kevin, do you have a prom? Do you want to go to prom? And he's like, oh, okay, sure. So then she turns back, she's like, sorry, I'm already going with Kevin. So then he's like, oh, so the boss is like, this is the reason why you hate Kevin. He's like, yeah, that's a stupid reason. He didn't even ask her
No,
out.
he wasn't telling the boss. He was telling his girlfriend.
Oh, okay. So yes, Brady also has a girlfriend, so he tells the story, and then she's like, why are you mad at Kevin? The girl was the one who didn't want to go out
Yes.
with you. Like, you should be mad at the girl. And he's like, Kevin. Brr. So we're like, okay, cool. So then a girl calls, and she's like, hey Kevin, it's me. Let's meet up. So he's like, okay, cool. So he's all excited. So he goes to this diner, and he's sitting down, and then you see the girl coming towards, and then you realize, oh, they're at two different restaurants. She's actually seeing her boyfriend. So then the chick who sits down at Lance's table is a weird cosmic
gypsy
chick.
girl.
Yes. So there you go. Just Lydia. I'm sure Lydia has a good description on that.
Reporter guy playing on a Game Boy. Reporter guy hates Lance because of past prom. Lance on phone. Meet up. No. I don't know what that is supposed to mean.
Okay.
Hippie lady hitting on Lance. Lance, no. Hot lady with lame-o dude at fancy restaurant.
Yes. Do you have anything?
No, that's pretty much all that I got there.
Okay. Cool. So,
Oh,
yeah.
I wrote she's nuts. With
Yes,
the
she's
cosmic
just like,
connection and all this. Yeah.
What's your sign? And he's like, blah, blah. She's like, and then she's like, you're a horrible person. He's like, why are you here? You're not the girl. He's like, I thought we had a connection. I felt it. And he's like, I don't know who you are. And then she gets mad and leaves. Like, so he's like, okay, that was fucking weird. But he figures it's like a one-off that this random broad calls.
Because she's like nuts.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So now they're back at the apartment. The boys are all hanging out. Brady Francis calls. And Lance doesn't want to talk to him. He wants to do an interview. And Eric's like, do the fucking interview. And he's like, I don't want to do the interview. And he's like, if you do the interview, it'll be in the newspaper, and then maybe you'll be able to find Dream Girl. And he's like, okay, I guess that works. So, yeah, we're good there. Anybody else?
Yep, that's good.
Okay.
Joey in robe, the Mick on TRL.
Oh, yes.
Phone
Yes.
call from Reporter Man.
Did I not write that? Oh, I did write. Sorry, they're watching MTV, the Mick. So the Mick is like, I don't know who he's supposed to be.
He's supposed to be like a famous
rock star.
Yeah.
So Joey's like, oh my God. So he like comes up because he doesn't live with them.
Joey's hero for some reason.
It's his hero. He's wearing a fucking bathrobe because he's showering in their apartment because his is broken. And then he like gets up. So the guy's like, because the DJ was like, oh, you broke your own record because like you have 26 weeks up here and your other one was 25 weeks. How do you feel? He's like, well, the Mick feels bad because on one hand, I'm excited that I broke this record, but on the other hand, I lost the other record. So whatever. And then because he says this stupid shit, Joey gets all fucking pissed off. He's like, you don't understand, it's about the music, Mick. And then at the end, the DJ just happens to say, oh, the Mick is going to be in Chicago. And that's it. So we're like, okay, well, obviously that's setting up for something else because
it doesn't really, honestly.
Yeah, I didn't think
but
that it was
very at the very.
But it doesn't really like have anything to do like the plot. It would have ended exactly the same even if he wasn't there.
Yes,
Yeah,
pretty much.
So
yes.
whatever.
I don't pretend to understand.
know.
Do you got anything there? No.
No, the same.
Okay, so now the article is printed. He gets to work. All the girls in the office are now checking him out and being, hey, Kevin.
So now
blah,
they
blah,
love him
blah.
because everyone knows.
So they're like, whatever. So all the girls in his office love him. His boss laughs at him and says he's fucking idiot. And he's just laughing, this really creepy laugh.
Yeah.
It's not, so he's there. So he's just laughing at him for like 10 minutes and it gets like incredibly awkward. And then he's like, you're so stupid, Kevin. You have to get the money and the way, and then you buy women or something.
Yeah,
I was just like, is he asking him to get hookers? Like
The boss's suggestion is that Lance should put a reward for someone finding this girl because money talks and all this shit, and Kevin doesn't know what he's doing.
Yes. So in the middle of this, Reebok calls. And they're just like, was that the guy who was in our meeting? And then he's like, yes. He's like, well, I want him to lead the team. And he's like, oh, okay, sure. So he gets a promotion. Shockingly, Jackie is not happy about Lance now being promoted. So anyway, so now they're at a baseball game. Well, they're playing base. No, this is the one they're at.
Isn't it a baseball game?
Yes, sorry, you're right. So they're at a baseball game, and Joey Fatone is double fisting hot dogs, guys.
See? It's
Sure.
on brand.
On brand for the Fat One hot dogs. There you go. And then this lady behind them is all like, are you the guy from the newspaper? And he's like, yeah. And she's like, I have a daughter. So instead of Kevin answering, Joey goes, does she eat meat? And then takes a big bite out of the hot dog. And I was like, okay, there, Joey, the pervert. There you go. And then the lady is disgusted, shockingly. And then their other buddy, who I wrote was Rod, but I guess his name is Eric.
His name is Eric.
Yes.
He's like fucking sitting, he's carrying a whole tray. And you're like, why is this dude eating so many snacks? And you realize, no, he's supposed to be selling these snacks that he's eating.
He works there.
And he's just sitting beside his buddies. And then something happens. So then he's whatever. And then a ball comes out and hits him in the nuts. And then his buddies were all like, that's the third time that he's hit him in the nuts. And the baseball player's like, that's the third time I've hit him in the nuts.
Mm-hmm.
And then some guy's like, do you want nuts? And then it was like, oh, hilarious. And meanwhile, the girl is packing up or doing something, it's playing in the background, but she's not watching the TV. But Lance holds up the ball like, yeah, I got the ball that hit my friend in the nuts. So
we're like, look at the two.
Another misconnection.
yes. I'm sure Lydia probably has something about
Lydia says Lance is famous at his workplace. Supervisor has the worst laugh ever. Reebok loves Lance now. Now they're at a baseball game. Got hit in the nuts.
Basically the same for all
Alright.
of us. Yes.
that. Excellent.
That girl can never be mine. NSYNC
That
song.
Yes.
girl can never be mine.
Is this after
Da-na-na-na.
this?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So Brady something loser has no date. So I don't know if he actually wrote it in the newspaper.
So I think what happens is, so like
Oh yeah, the boss wants follow-ups, right?
Yeah. So Brady posts the original story about how Kevin is looking for this girl. And then it obviously goes crazy. This is why Lance is getting famous. This is why whatever. And so then the boss is like, oh, I want you to like follow up on this. Like, so then basically every day, or maybe not every day, but every once a week or whatever, there's like updates about what's happening with Lance trying to find this girl. So then that's why at
One
the
of the
top,
updates says loser has no dates.
yeah.
And then that girl never be mine montage. And then at one point there's like Lance is just like trying to come up with Reebok ideas. And he's putting on these little girl shoes and he's like break dancing in the office at one point.
And then Jackie comes to see him.
Yes. Then it says there's a late night. Jackie is hating things. Lots of girls got her. I don't know what that means. Do you know what that means?
Nope.
Okay.
Your notes, bud.
I have no idea what my notes mean. But anyway, so he's like, so just a montage with that, which is also a really good song, That Girl Will Never Be Mine. Listen to that
Lydia
one.
said it's a banger.
Okay.
Yes.
Does Lydia have anything else with that?
Lance frustration montage.
Yes.
Okay, go. Okay, so now his buddies have taken him out for barbecue baseball. There are more hot dogs and Pepsi placements because there's lots of Pepsi there. And then they're like, why did we invite you out, Kevin? And he's like, because I brought the food. They're like, well, yeah, ha, ha, ha. But also they come up with this genius idea. Does anybody want to say the genius idea? I feel
You
like
can definitely say the
All
genius
right.
idea.
the friends have decided, because all these phone calls are now coming in, and Kevin's met a bunch of them, but they're obviously not the girl. So they're like, you're getting all these calls. We're good friends, so we're going to screen them for you and date the girls. And he's like, that is a very stupid idea.
Yes.
No, like, I'm not doing that, right? Because Kevin is a stand-up dude and doesn't want to deceive people. So that's his thing. And they're just like, but come on, we need dates, man. And they're like, screw you. And then he leaves. Okay. So now his buddy is in a Verizon phone booth in case we need some more product placements.
There's many in this.
There's
movie.
lots. So now at this point, Kevin is in the office. His boss
When they're
comes in.
eating when they're at the barbecue baseball, there's Pepsi cans all lined up there.
Yes.
Yes, it's all about the product placement in this movie.
Lydia says barbecue ball, dating proposition, Joey eating hot dogs again, apparently.
So Joey did not go hungry.
There was
during the
really
filming
a lot
this.
of like foreshadowing to Fatone dogs or fat ones. He really had a love for hot dogs all along.
Ironically.
And apparently half-assing was mouthed, but half-hearted was dubbed over. I'm not sure exactly where that happens.
In the movie, I noticed that too.
Yeah.
But I could have sworn that I saw it. I don't know. Did this come in the theaters?
I want to say yes.
I feel
for
like
a
I
brief
saw it in the
time.
theaters. I think I did, and there was not a lot of people.
Yeah,
But I feel like they said half-ass, and then in this video version, it's half-hearted. And you're like, okay. Okay, so blah, blah, blah. So anyway, so now Lance is talking to his boss. He's at the office, and his boss is like, can't fuck up this Reebok campaign, blah, 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 blah. And his friend is on the phone, and he's like, come on, did you think about the idea? And he's like, no, this is stupid. The boss is like, what do you mean? Blah, blah, blah. And then he says all this stuff, and then Lance has to answer yes to his boss. So he says yes to his boss while his buddy thinks he's talking to him. And he's like, yes, are you sure? The exact same time the boss says, are you sure? And then Lance goes, yes, I'm sure. So then the boss leaves, and then his buddy's like, hangs up the phone, like, yeah. And then Lance is like, buddy, where are you? And then he's not there. So he's like, oh. So he thinks nothing of it. He thinks his friend just hung up the phone. Okay. Also, there is an Al Green show happening.
Yes.
So she had mentioned it to him when they had met on the train. And when she went to go meet her boyfriend for the lunch the other day, he gives her tickets to the Al Green show in Chicago. So he's all excited. So Eric gets Lance tickets. So they go to this Al Green show.
Tickets.
So they're there. They're sitting there. Everything's fine. So while they're there, Lance thinks he sees her. So he goes and he taps this chick on the shoulder. It turns out it's not her. So he's like, oh, okay, whatever. So, but she was there. But she was making a phone call because her boyfriend had not shown up yet.
Stood her up,
even though the concert has already started. And I don't know if anyone who's actually been to a concert before, but there's a lot of time up until the actual headliner goes on, that you can go get your drinks and, look for your date and whatever. But they both decide they're leaving their tables at this point while Al Green is performing, whatever. So they go back. So then they're sitting there and Lance is like, I'm so excited you got these tickets. And he's like, yeah. So then this usher comes over. Would you like to fill in there?
You can do it.
So this usher comes over and he's like, tickets? And he's like, oh, I don't know where my tickets are. And they're like, what? And then they kick them out, which makes no sense because how did they get into the theater to begin with?
There's people checking your tickets.
Like I have had people where they like sneak up and steal seats or whatever, and then the ushers will kick them out, whatever, during a concert.
But like put them back to their actual
seats in the nosebleeds. But you had to have that to get in. It's not like a willy-nilly. I don't know if 20 some odd years ago you just waltz into wherever the hell you want to go and not show your tickets.
In this movie, you did.
I don't know. So anyway, so she doesn't see Lance leaving because she's on the phone talking to her boyfriend. Does Lydia have anything about that section?
Cuts to Soulful concert. They're both there but miss each other. Old cell phone tech.
Oh, also, as they're getting kicked out, Al Green said that he had read in the newspaper about this couple who met over his music, so it's going out to them, blah, blah, blah.
But Kevin's busy
but he's getting kicked out at this point.
And she's like, I don't know, depressed and
so I'm not actually sure if she actually heard it or not. It was just like an awkward, like, did she hear Al Green say it? I don't know. So anyway, so then Lance is on the subway again, and he's asking her what her name is. And then she says, every time she tries to say her name, the next stop is happening and he doesn't hear the name. And then it turns out he had fallen asleep and it was a dream. So he had actually not. Meanwhile, his friends look like degenerates who don't do anything, but they had a very good schedule that they made up. They have all their names and the days of the week and the times, and they're like scheduling all these chicks. And I don't know how multiple calls are coming in to the one phone line that they can answer both, but they got their little headsets on. Like, I guess it was for cinematography.
Well, they must have got different lines because you hear them at one point say, transfer her to line 1.
But how, if they're all called, I guess if it's the main number.
Yeah.
I guess dudes will do anything for, as Lydia says, the vagine. Yes. So there you go. So these guys, they want a date and they're like scheduling 5:36, 7:15, like getting all in there. So yeah, so a lot of dates are coming up, but Lance is busy at the office, doesn't realize this shit is going on. So then he finally, I think, does he come home at that point?
According to Lydia's notes, yes. Lance fell asleep on train, had dream, came home to date scheduling guys.
Yes.
And he's like, what the fuck you guys doing? And they're like, Eric's like, but you told me on the phone that we could do it. He's like, no, I didn't. And he's like, yeah, you did. You said yes. And when I asked her, are you sure? I said, you said yes. And he's like, I wasn't talking to you, dude. And he's like, well, it's too late. All these girls are calling. And he's like, they're like, listen, we're helping you out because obviously all these girls are not the girls. So we're just going to make sure that they're not the girl for you. And he's like, fine, whatever. So then there's a bit of, she finally calls, Rod picks up. Oh, meanwhile, so all this is happening, the actual dream girl calls, guys.
Because she sees it in the paper.
She saw it in the paper.
Yes.
Eric picks up the phone. He's like, yo, girl, this is Kevin, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, oh, okay. And she's like, yo, when are we going to meet up? Blah, blah, blah. And she's like, I guess tomorrow. And he's like, okay, at this time. So he schedules the time, not knowing. And she's kind of like making a face like, that sounds weird because Kevin did not sound like a complete douchebag, but okay, fine. So anyway, so then there's like a montage of them going on dates. There is a wrestling.
China is one of the dates and they arm wrestle.
She is dating Joey.
Yes.
And she kicks his ass and Joey falls to the ground and then she like leaves.
That was very funny.
There's just a bunch of one of them, like a 12-year-old girl with braces was there. So that guy was like,
hello, Kevin.
And she's like, I'm going to get out before I get arrested. And like, there's a whole bunch of, so there's like a bunch of dates going on.
Yes.
So then, guys, she shows up. And then Eric's all like, yeah, bitch, yeah, come here, yeah. And she's like, he does not say bitch, but he's like, yo, whatever. And she's just like looking, and he's like waving her over.
So come on, let's go.
He's like, it's Kevin. And then she's like, no, you're not Kevin. He's like, yeah, I am. Blah, blah, blah. And she's like, no. And she like goes to leave. And he's like, babe, whatever. I'm not him. You're not her. Blah, 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 blah. And she's just like, what the hell? And then he's like, oh shit, are you actually her?
And he realizes that it's not actually her, because I think my understanding is in these newspaper articles is they never show his face.
They showed like his high school picture way back in the day.
Yeah,
but it's
so the only way that she would know that this Eric guy is not actually Kevin is because she actually knows what Kevin looks like.
Yes.
yes. Does Lydia have anything about
Lydia
this
has
section?
many things. Reporter has an evil plan. So meanwhile, the reporter's pissed because he hates Kevin for some unknown reason. So he has this plan because he somehow gets an inkling that this is what Kevin's doing, that like his friends are going out on these dates or that he's whatever. So then he decides to send his girlfriend, like he decides to make his girlfriend,
which by the way,
call
he
the
treats her
number.
like absolute trash.
Yeah.
And make a date with Kevin, so that then he can find out that this is what they're doing, right? Because then when she goes on a date with someone who's not Kevin, he can expose him, right? So then she wrote date plan backfires. That's all the stuff that you guys already talked about. China arm wrestles Joey. Real girl comes, all goes bad. Reporter sends Ringer, that's his girlfriend, finds out the whole plan. So now the guy writes about it, and now everyone hates Lance.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep. So the girlfriend
Train scam on newspaper.
So the girlfriend comes back with a fucking leg cast, a walking cast, and a nose thing.
We're like, what happened
And
to
we're
her?
like, what the fuck's going on? And he's like, yeah, no, it's not him. So Brady exposed it. He chats and he's all like, the evil plan. And the girl, and he's like, oh yeah, something happened to you? And she's like, yeah. And he's like, yeah.
But she seems oddly happy about it. She's like,
yeah, it was a good date. So, and then, so then this comes out. Then Reebok calls. They want Lance off the account. They don't want him to be.
Everyone hates him again.
Everyone is like turning their nose. They all hate him. They're like, ooh, you're a horrible person. And then I wrote, Joey farts himself awake. There's a lot of Joey farting. Like, Joey's
loved this
roles.
part just because of this. Probably.
Joey's roles were to eat hot dogs, sing on stage, and fart. That's pretty much.
Probably like his favorite
that's
role
his
that
thing.
happens.
And I feel like that's, you know what, guys? That's just Joey.
Yeah.
That's Joey.
Pretty much.
Joey Fatone. So then it turns out that Joey was on the date with Brady's girlfriend. So they're like, oh, and so he's telling the other two buddies, and they're like, oh, you know, she was so they think he's like, oh, it was like a great sexy time, and he's like, no, like she was in pain, like, yeah, she was, blah blah blah. They're like, no, I feel bad, I heard her, like, oh, and then he's like, no, seriously, I was. So I guess they met at a bar. He took her back to his apartment. Is playing guitar. Does his stupid thing where he kicks the amp, but because it's such a tiny apartment, he ends up like fucking like kicking her, and then she like falls off the bed and breaks her nose and leg, like
she was flying.
So then they're like sitting around having breakfast, and then Eric's all like, "Oh, that sucks. Sorry, dude, but so like what? Oh, sorry. Also, when he was talking to her, he's like, whatever, we'd like to date and get like, he was just saying how this is such a great scheme about like dating all these girls and stuff. So anyways, and that they're never going to stop doing it or whatever. So then they're eating breakfast, and he's like, so like, if we like actually go on a date with the dream girl, like, what are we supposed to do? And they're like, you're going to tell Kevin and we're going to stop the operations. But like, you know, we're getting a lot of dates right now. And they're like, did you fucking go on a date with the girl? And then he's all like, maybe. And they're just like, what the hell is wrong with you? So yeah, do you have anything for that?
Nope. You got everything there?
Guys exchanging sex stories over Frosted Flakes. Dang It is dubbed over. I don't know if that's during that.
Probably.
It's a lot of dubbing, apparently. I guess.
What is the rating on this?
I'm assuming that they filmed this
PG.
They had filmed this entire movie, maybe assuming it would be like 14 plus or something. And then whoever made this movie,
Alliance, I think?
Yeah, Alliance Atlantis or whatever decided they wanted to make it PG. And so they just dubbed over anything that would be considered
swearing.
Yeah.
So like not listening to this fucking podcast.
Instead of like shooting all those scenes.
Yes. Okay, so
Maybe because Lance went back to being a blonde instead of a brunette, which
perhaps,
is super weird
Who knows? Who
throughout
knows?
this whole movie.
So Lance is at the office. Everybody hates him. Jackie's having issues with the photocopying. She's like, "Oh no, what are we gonna do about this Reebok account?" And then Lance like creepily, sexily talks to the photocopier, then gives it a love kick, and it magically works. And he's like, "Wait, where's Nathan?" Everyone's like, "Well, I don't know." It is what it is. So you're like, okay. So then Lance is now on the train and he sees her. He sees her and he's trying to catch her. So he's like, holy shit, I finally found the girl. So he's like running after her. She gets on it, closes the door. And he's like, hey, it's me. And then she's all like,
look at the newspaper.
and shows the newspaper where it says like, this guy's a scam. Yeah.
Okay, I feel like we need to go back to the photocopier thing for a second, though. Lydia wrote, love tap copy machine is what she wrote. But I think Chunsi is underselling this scene a little bit because, previously the Nathan guy explains to Lance like how you have to talk nicely to the machine and blah, blah, blah. So then Lance like, hey, photocopier,
yes,
daddy's here. Like, blah, blah,
it was
blah.
very creepy.
Like, what the
It's very
fuck?
creepy.
It is
Like-
definitely, he's definitely making love to the machine, guys.
Yeah, it's like pretty funny.
Yes.
Yes.
But also creepy.
And then he kicks it and it works, obviously.
Yes. You good there?
Lydia's
Yes.
only other notes are he sees her at train station, she gets mad.
It's very sad because you're like, oh, it's not his fault.
It's not like they could have actually talked. So he sees
True.
her like across the other side, like the train going in the other direction.
And she's not running away from him. She's just getting on the train.
She hasn't seen him at this point. So then he runs to get to the other side. At this point, she sees him, and then she quickly gets on the train. So then he's still running to try to get to her. The doors close. So then he knocks on the window where she's sitting, and she's just like,
It's very sad.
But
Because he doesn't know.
And he doesn't know. And he's like, oh, that's weird. So anyway, so now he gets back and he's like talking. Him and Eric are playing baseball, I think. Is where
Yes.
this happened.
no,
Yes.
not him and Eric.
Yeah. I think, okay, let me see what I wrote. So he's there, and then they're playing catch or whatever, and just the two of them. And then he's like, the thing is, like, I can understand that she read this article and she was pissed off.
Oh, okay.
He's like, but why did she never call? Like, that's just weird. Like, if she obviously knew this was happening, why didn't she call? Like, what's going on? And then he's like, yeah, so she, like, called, and I went on a date with her, and he's like, what? The fuck, dude? And then, like, throws a baseball at him. And then comes over and like fucking punches him to the ground.
He had enough.
And Lance, and he's like, sorry, bro, you mad at me? And he's just like, "Arr!" and like,
Here's a punch for you.
I don't know even know if he might have kicked him as well. I'm not really sure, but they definitely punches him and he goes down. So Lance was not happy about being deceived because also the other buddies were like, Eric, you got to tell him that you talked to her. He's like, maybe it won't be a big deal. Spoiler alert, it was a big deal.
Yes.
So then, so now we're back at the place where they play where Joey plays. It's open mic night. He's singing "We're Not Gonna Take It." Then he goes and he apologizes to Lance, and so it's just him and June. He's like, sorry, like I didn't tell you that Eric went on this date with her, blah blah blah, and that all the shit that we did. He's like, but like you and your love for this dream girl inspired me to write this song. Here it is on a cassette tape that I'm giving to you. It was just like, was so weird. He was like, it made me feel like about love. And the song, was that at that point? I don't know.
Yes, I believe so.
I don't know. If, no, the song he sings at the end. So there's another song playing. It's called Falling, I think. Mm-hmm. And there's like a whole sad montage happening.
There was lots of montages.
And then I decided that the rich pompous friend kind of looked like Andrew McCarthy. But I realized it couldn't be him because he was in the 80s movies, and yes. So I was just like, yeah. So, what else? Do you have anything?
Lydia said, he punches friend at baseball diamond. Joey and Lance hang out at bar. NSYNC Falling song plays in the background. Mm-hmm. Joey shows cassette tape. Sad waking montage, but I think it's supposed to be walking.
Yeah, it's just a sad, though it's all dark, and there's
just
like
very sad for him.
Melancholy and whatever, so... Yep.
Are we at an art? Then she wrote "Boys Argue." Is that different part?
I have friends decide to fix it.
Boys argue. Mess dubbed over fucked.
I like how Lydia's like bringing out all the
She really had knack for the details of this movie.
She did. So I go, the friends decide to fix it. They've decided that they're going to make their own flyer with,
Doesn't even look
and
like
Eric is the only person that's seen Dream Girl. So they put this terrible picture on all of them, and now they're just going to go to all the subway lines and put that, like, do I have a pen? I'm going to show you the exact picture that they drew of this girl, okay?
Yes, so it says poster montage for Lydia, the girl heard inspiration speech, which
this is what this picture looks like. It's literally like big lips, a couple of strands of hair. If you're not watching, like, it literally is like a child drew this. It looks like girl in general, but does not look like any normal human being. Like, looks nothing like her.
You hear you hear them during this poster montage saying that she has brown hair, so I suppose that narrows it down a bit, and they're like she's about this tall, like whatever.
Yeah, so I honestly can't read my writing. It looks like it says flambar soppy. I don't know what that means. I don't know. They photocopy a bunch of these things. They have like a whole like thing. They're like, okay, you go there, you go there, you go there. But then in the montage, they're all together. So it's like, and Kevin doesn't know that they're doing this. So then finally they're on this one train, and then Eric makes this like apology speech, and it's so inspiring, and how like Kevin didn't know, and all this other stuff, and then like everyone, he's like, it's hard to find love, and when you blah blah blah, and I messed this up for my friend, and if you could find Dream Girl, whatever. And then they're all like, so then there's like something a fucking standing. Yes, that was. Did I not write? Oh, I didn't write it.
Yeah, something about like love is hard to find, but it's worth the journey to find it. Something like that.
Something like that. Yeah. It's like, so it's like,
and
it's
like a standing ovation.
That everyone on the train just fucking like gets up and starts clapping, and then they're like, here's the pictures, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, oh, too bad the girl's not on this train. Spoiler alert, she was on the train. But even though they're giving posters out to everyone, they don't give it to her.
She's like hiding.
She's sitting down. She's the only person sitting down. Everybody else is standing up. And whatever, so
nobody notices her apparently. So.
Shockingly, they didn't picture her from this lovely image. Like, I was like, I get what you're trying to do, but you're stupid. Anyway, so then Lance is at work, and he's like, I want to talk to my buddy Nathan. Like, where's Nathan? And then this girl's like, oh, didn't you hear? Nathan had a heart attack. And we're like, okay.
So then when they said that, I thought he died. But
so that one generally implies that they did.
Yes,
did Lydia have anything to say about train part?
Poster montage, the girl heard inspiration speech.
Okay. So now he's like, so now Nathan is in, I'm assuming it's a nursing home. It's definitely not a hospital because there's carpeting and it looks like an old house. And then he's like playing with the baseball, and then Lance is like,
he had a heart attack, by the way. So that's why he was off.
Yeah, so he has the heart attack, but he's still alive.
Yes, which was good.
Which is good.
When you think you think death.
Yeah, so Lance is there. He's like, are you ever going to tell me this baseball story? And Nathan's like, this baseball I caught the day that I met my wife. It's very sentimental. Here, take it. And
what is
like,
that was so weird because first of all, it's this whole thing it's a whole thing in the beginning of the movie where Lance is like, oh, what's the deal with you and the baseball? And he's like, I'll tell you one day. And then doesn't want to say it. And then he tells him this story about why this baseball is important to him because he caught it the day he met his wife, who we're assuming is now dead. And then he's just like, here you go, Lance, you take it. And Lance, instead of being like, no, that's the baseball that, you had when you met your wife or whatever.
And have literally carried your entire life, and it's like dirty and brown. And
it's like, okay, thank you very much. Like, what?
Yeah.
Maybe Nathan was going to die right afterwards. Who knows? Oh, no, but he doesn't.
I guess to give him a little bit of a pep talk, like, here's this sentimental
this is love.
I get that it's supposed to be like the lucky love ball, and maybe if Lance has this ball, then he'll find his dream girl or whatever, but like I get the point. But like in real life, you'd be like, oh my god, no, like I can't take your lucky ball.
They actually have rules like in nursing homes that you're not allowed to take things from people because,
they don't.
Well, yeah.
Anyways, well,
Uh,
staff, obviously.
Lydia's notes are George Costanza's dad had a heart attack. Lance visits, gets inspired, and old baseball.
Okay.
Mhm.
So now we're back to the office. Jackie has gotten promoted. So she's now the executive, whatever. So she gives Kevin back the Reebok account. She's like, here you go. You can have the account back. And then there's another.
So we find out she's not a bitch.
So she's not a bitch. She was just
Because I
working
think
hard.
Lance got fired from the Reebok account
Yes.
during the time where everyone hated him.
Yes.
But now he's
Now he's
on
back
it.
on the account because she knows that he's the best for the account because he came up with the other idea. So she knows that he'll do well on the account.
Yes. Lydia wrote, Lance now works in mailroom because when the scene starts, he's working in the mailroom because he got fired off this Reebok account.
And she's the one.
And then-
Jackie was the one
And
that
I don't think he was actually working in the mailroom. I think he was just hanging out there. And I know Nathan was obviously off in the hospital. So
And then
probably
she
helping him
wrote, but now he's back on the Reebok account, Black Lady being nice now.
okay. So then I have another song, Rides and Sees Sign to Play. Oh, so another montage is happening. Lance is on the train, and then he sees this sign that like says, advertise here. And he's like, oh, even though he works in marketing and that is his job, is to make billboards and things like that.
Oh my god!
Because he saw a random bus ad, was like, advertise here. Oh shit, maybe I should advertise. So then he makes a sign and puts it all over town, and it says, L train girl, I'm sorry. Please meet me at our stop 7 p.m. Saturday. Love, Kevin.
So then
So-
I said, everyone's gonna go there.
But then Diane were like, well, how do we know which stop is their stop?
Right.
Which is a very valid
Well,
point.
it's a good point, absolutely.
Because there's lots of
Yes.
stops. So people who are curious could probably hang out at all the stops. Who knows?
Right.
So now it's Saturday. He gets a pep talk from his friends at the bar, but he's like, guys, I got to go do this alone. And they're just like, oh, okay. And yeah, so he shows up at his stop and it's like 10-2 and there's a whole bunch of reporters there. Fuss,
Everyone
going
is
back to
there.
Sophia's point.
Yes.
So how do they know? I don't know,
Right.
unless they followed him
Who knows?
or maybe they asked like, hey, what's your stop? I don't know. So somehow the reporters know what stop is the stop.
Maybe the only thing I can think now that I'm really thinking about it, and I'm sorry, there's something in my eye, is that in the original story, maybe it's mentioned that she has to change trains, and they know that that's the station where they change
That's true.
trains.
It could be
Yeah,
like
that's
the Bloor
possible.
subway line or whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Lydia said, I'm sorry, billboard montage, Lance waiting at train stop.
Okay, so now we're back to Joey, and Joey is performing, and a throwback to things that nobody remembered. The Mick shows up in this shitty bar. And Joey's like, what the heck? What are you doing here, the Mick? And he's like, I'm here to see you. He's like, you're my idol. Why are you in this shitty bar? And he's like, someone sent me this cassette tape of your original song. And he's like, Kevin. Kevin. So then he's like,
How
so,
Kevin has the mixed address, no one fucking knows. but-
he works in marketing. I don't know. So apparently he wasn't mad enough at Joey to not pass on his cassette. So anyway, so he passed on this cassette. So Mick wants to hear him play. Julie shows up. Oh, Brady's girlfriend shows up at this bar, and he's like, Julie, it's you. And she's like, hey, Rod, or whatever.
Yes, Rod.
Rod. And then he's like, have you met the Mick? This is the Mick. And she's like, hi, the Mick, but I'm more interested in you. And he's like, ooh. And it's like, oh,
So
okay.
apparently,
A love
you know,
connection
So
there.
I'm assuming
She's
she broke up
into
with Brady, I guess.
S&M or something.
I don't know. So anyway, so now she's there. So now Joey has love of his life. So now we flash back to the train. It is 7:01 and no one is there yet. And now there's a montage of everyone watching the news. At the bar, they're all watching the news. Nathan, minus baseball, is watching it in the nursing home. All this stuff. It's like, like breaking news story, nothing. 7-Eleven, no train.
And then you just feel bad.
So then everyone's
for
like,
him.
we've been waiting here for a while. Fuck. So then everyone starts to kind of disperse, and they're like, sorry, dude, you're a loser. Whatever. So meanwhile, so everyone's like now walking away from him. And then a paper airplane appears at his feet.
What?
And he's like, what? And the paper airplane says, open me. Oh, sorry, I forgot to say, did I say that the song was Ready to Fall in Love?
No.
So when that's the song that Joey performs, that's his like single that he's decided. And the Mick is gonna sign him to his independent record label or something like that. So it's like, oh, Joey, everything's
So
looking up for
Joey gets
Joey.
a happy ending as well.
So yeah, so this airplane, it says open me, then it says look up, and he looks up and she's there just smiling and everybody cheers. So now he starts running up the stairs. Is there any?
Yes. So she wrote, Joey meets the Mick, gets record deal, gets crutches lady. Joey's song, I'm ready to fall in love tonight. Lydia's review is not bad, kind of cute song. Lance waiting montage, airplane, very cute shrug. Then kiss.
All right. So now he's like gone up the stairs. He's on that bridge. He goes up to her. The reporters like give a little bit of space, but then they also follow. And she's
some of them started leaving because some time has passed.
Yes, they're like, you're wasting our time. So anyways, he gets up there and he's like, I have 2 questions for you. What is your name? And can I please have your phone number? And then she says, Abby. And I thought you'd never ask. So then they're like holding hands with their son. And you're just like, oh, is it just going to be a hold hand? Because, you know, this is Lance. But no, after holding hands, they now kiss.
A few times.
And then it goes back to the bar and like the pompous friend turns around and there's a girl. So they have a love connection as well.
So everyone is having a happy ending.
And then it gets back to Lance and they kiss again. And Al Green music starts playing. And there you go. And then it's just like, oh. And there's
Lydia's review of the kiss was really not believable, but gave nice closure.
Yes, it was nice. It was beautiful. So there's Al Green, and they're all just kind of like walking on the streets and like singing to this Al Green song while he's just like, the good, the bad, the happy, the sad. And he's just like, whatever, right? Mm-hmm. So that's that. And then the credits start rolling. And we have a behind the scenes footage, guys.
Yes.
Behind the scenes.
It was so funny.
So it's they're getting their hair and makeup done by their 2 artists. The makeup artist is a gentleman who is a gay cowboy, and that is played by Justin Timberlake. And then their hair guy, his name is Angelo, and he wears a lot of leather and has like curly little mustache, and that is Chris from NSYNC. So
it was so funny.
It was very cute and funny, and I was very excited. And they're just like, "Oh yes, we love the Academy of Awards. Oh, we're going to do your stuff." And they're like, "Yeah, cool." And they're like, "Oh, they love us." And they're like, "Oh, these people suck." That's pretty much it. So
they're like, okay, sorry. First, I'll read. Lydia said, Justin is gay cowboy. Chris is French gay makeup artist.
I thought he was more Italian.
This is, I'm reading what Lydia wrote.
Okay.
And then she wrote, best acting of the whole movie.
Amazing.
They're like, that's all of Lydia's notes, by the way. They're like, first they're doing Emmanuel Shrieke's like hair and makeup like very violently, and she's kind of like, and they're like, but then you also see them talking and they're like, oh, she's beautiful, she's lovely, she's so nice. And then they're like, Lance, on the other hand, he's like difficult to work with.
And then Lance is all like, fuck you.
Yeah, and he's like, Angelo, I said my hair has to be sky high, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, oh, sorry, Lance. And he's like, yes. And then Joey shows up and they're like, oh, Joey, we love you. Oh, blah, blah, blah. And they're like attacking him with things. It's very, it's
cute and funny. And I
hilarious.
suggest looking that up because it's adorable.
Yes.
I'm sure somebody has it on YouTube.
Probably.
But yes. So there you go. There is a actual theatrical release rom-com starring members of NSYNC. And yeah, so there you go. What did we think of this movie?
It was okay. It was better than the other movies that we saw together.
I liked it because obviously it was NSYNC, and the Chris stuff at the end was Le Piece de Resistance. And yes, I don't know, I just thought it was good.
okay.
I thought it was cute. It's like rom-coms are cheesy and ridiculous.
I guess it's better. I guess overall, in terms of like production value and like there's legitimate actors in the movie. And, you know, Joey's pretty good at Lance. Listen, Lance fails at playing a straight man, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Like, he tries, he
okay?
literally, at one point, almost recoils when something happens with a girl and he's like, whoa, and I'm like, oh, okay, Lance, like your gay is showing. Like,
Yes.
you know, because even if people knew he was gay, you're not acting like a straight man. But that's okay. We love you anyways.
Yes,
And,
we do.
So, you know, I think it's okay that Lance's acting career ended here.
Mhm.
Yes.
Also, yeah. So like that's awkward.
Okay.
But like, you know, otherwise it's fun. Let's if we're recapping all the boy band movies we've watched, yes, it's better than like Dead 7. It's better than that Kevin movie. It's better than that other
Juice.
ridiculous Lou Pearlman one.
Oh, Long Shot. Yes.
Yeah.
Go back and
Olive
watch
Juice
that.
was bad
Yeah.
as well. So this one, like, I think it's high.
I feel like this one had less plot holes than Olive Juice. Olive Juice,
Yes.
everything. I was just like, what the fuck? Is
We didn't
this?
review all of Juice on this
Oh,
that's
podcast,
okay.
but
I don't
it's
really want to
fine.
watch that again.
We don't need to watch it again.
No.
Anyways, so I guess it is in terms of like overall quality and like a storyline that sort of makes sense. Because it's an actual movie made by
It is
actual
an actual
like
movie by film
movie
studio.
making people and
Mhm.
not like Nick Carter,
Yes.
you know? So
It was also distributed by Miramax. So there you go. That's an actual movie company.
Yeah.
despite the fact that some of the acting is questionable and that overall it's pretty cheesy.
Mhm.
Yes. But it's a rom-com. Rom-coms are cheesy.
This is
Look
true.
at the Hallmark Channel. All those movies.
Yeah.
This is
I would put it on par with like Hallmark quality.
I would say it's a little
movie,
bit higher, but yes. There you go.
you know.
Yeah.
Anyways, I like it. Holds up all these years. So good job, Lance and Joey.
They did a good job.
Good job.
All right. Well, if you have seen On the Line, leave us a comment and let us know what you thought, or you can hit us up on social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook at boybandbreak, BOYBANDBREAK. And thanks for taking a break with us, guys.
And all of those links are on our link tree on Twitter. Until next time.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.